Namaskar, I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive online training on Cyber Swachhata and Digital Citizenship. This online training program is organized by Central Institute of Educational Technology, that is CIET NCERT, in collaboration with CyberPeace Foundation, that is CPF. Today we are in day 2 of the training session and the topic that we have taken up is data privacy and personal information protection. You are watching us live on eVidya channels 6 to 12 and also on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. This is a training program and we are going live. Let's make it interactive. So if you want to participate, please send us your questions, suggestions and feedback. Our phone number is 8800440559. We also have a dedicated email ID for you, that is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in, and you can send us your questions on our YouTube handle NCERT Officials live chat box as well. So if there is any problem that you are encountering at the moment as far as data privacy and its protection is concerned, if you want to share your experiences, the challenges that you have been through, you can share anything and everything under the sun related to the topic in our live chat box. And I request all our viewers to kindly not mark their attendance. Please ask relevant questions. Now, we all know that data is asset and it is very important to protect it. We have our presence on various, I would say, online platforms. We are doing financial transactions, we are studying, communication is happening, entertainment is happening. So we are knowingly or unknowingly, feeding our data into that system. But how it is being utilized once it's there? That's the question. So we have to be very vigilant where we are, spreading the data and how it is being used. So let's talk about personal information protection also, because we have posted so many pictures of personal information online and it can be used for some malicious purposes and they can harm us. We can become victim of cyber fraud and cyber threat as we see it. So in order to protect ourselves and keep the data safe, we are having this day 2's training session, and for this we have invited our expert who will share some insights related to the matter. So please join me in welcoming my guest for the day. We have with us Dr. Rakesh Maheshwari. Sir is former Senior Director from Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Sir, namaskar and very warm welcome to the session. Right. And to all my viewers, I just want to say that it's a training program, so you can participate in the assessment also on the last day of the training session. For more guidelines on the same, you can log on to our CIET website. Now, sir, it's a very important training program that we are conducting and awareness is the key. You can take precautions and keep yourself safe and protected. I want to ask you about all the important points that you will be touching upon in the session today. So if you can share a brief with us, that would be really great.
So thank you, Harpreet ji, and I shall be talking about in this particular session about the data privacy and personal information protection. What are the steps which are required? What are the precautions that we need to take? In fact, we also shall cover as to what this data privacy is all about. What is the personal data that we are talking of, which requires protection, maybe which requires even extra protection.
Okay.
And we shall also be talking about the regulatory environment in the country. And finally, I shall be talking about as to what precautions as students, as I'll say citizens of this country, we should take as parents, what should be our role as children, what should be our role, and how should we really interact with the cyber world.
Absolutely, sir. I think all these points are heart of the matter. And now I request you to kindly go ahead with your presentation. If at all we will be receiving questions from our viewers, we will take them up in the end, sir.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I start with the first question itself as to what is data privacy.
Yeah.
When we talk of privacy, it's actually we are talking about personal data and its security. So what exactly is personal data? I shall be talking about. But privacy today has become a very important aspect, particularly in the digital world, wherein a lot of personal data of ours is available and is being used and has a potential of being misused. Normally, we come across this word privacy as well as security. So I like to as well differentiate between this word of what do we mean by privacy and security. So privacy is nothing but security of personal data. As I said, I shall be just talking about as to what personal data is. So whenever we are wanting to secure our personal data, we are talking of privacy. Privacy can be in the physical space. Privacy can be in the digital space as well. Majorly, my topic of coverage today shall be privacy in the digital space. As I said, when we are talking of privacy, when we are talking of data privacy, naturally, what is that we want to protect? We want to protect what we say is personal information or personally identifiable information. So what is personal information? My name, my address, my phone number, my email, the school, the place where I work, maybe I go for study, our Aadhaar number, PAN number, election ID card number, any other identity through which we can be known. In fact, our car number, scooter number, because that can also lead your identity, that can also lead to your identity. Our photos, our locations, our biometric data, our health data, our personal financial data. So in fact, if you look at all this thing, you will realize that most of the time when we are interacting in the digital space, we are in a way sharing such data on the apps, on the websites that we are accessing to. In fact, personally identifiable information can as well include our tastes, our behaviors, our preferences. So it's not just about what we have, what we know. In fact, whatever we may be doing, maybe the style in which we write, the style in which we think, everything is about personal data. Everything is in a way relating to the privacy, which is why it has become important today, particularly in the digital space. And when I say digital space, you may also be knowing that today if we look at, for example, social media itself. And when I say social media does not include only maybe the Facebooks and Instagram or maybe such kind of platforms, but also includes messaging platforms like WhatsApp, like Telegram, like Signal. On WhatsApp itself, we have more than 60 crore people in India accessing. Same is true in respect of maybe Facebook, Instagram, which is becoming very popular, YouTube, wherein crores of people access and maybe upload their information. We are using, there are other online platforms, for example, e-commerce platforms, there are gaming platforms. In fact, each time I access, I download, I install an app, you will find that app shall be asking for certain personal data to be captured. For example, Google Map itself. So as soon as we start operating the Google Map, the very first thing which it requires is as to where you are and where you want to go. Naturally, Google therefore, and through this app, gets to know your place of origin to your place of destination. Same is true with many other cab-oriented services. In fact, all the apps that we use today, all the websites that we use today, they are in some way taking some of our personal data. Once again, as to why it has become important, because in a way, we are identified in the digital space by whatever we are sharing, and there is always a misuse potential of such identities on the internet. Our pictures may be shared without our permission. We may fall victim to scams or stalking. So far we were having stalking in the physical world. We can now as well have stalking and scams in the digital world. Of course, almost every day we get to know some sort of a fraud, some sort of an impersonation happening. In fact, in the era of artificial intelligence, where it is very easy to morph, it is very easy to create deepfakes, the problem of data privacy has actually further aggravated, has become further important. And therefore, it is very important for us to understand the concept of privacy. Maybe I take up through an example of telephone directory. Earlier in the good old days, there used to be, I do not know whether you have seen a physical copy of a telephone directory, something like a huge dictionary sort of book wherein everybody's telephone numbers used to be there. The directory was very, very useful for people to be able to access, people to be able to get to know as to what the other person's number is, who you are looking for, and you should be able to dial. But today, if such a telephone directory is made public, that means all of our telephone numbers are becoming known, publicly known. It is becoming a huge nuisance. And almost every day, we therefore get calls, maybe based on our profiles, what we call as the targeted ads. And to that an extent, something which was such an important thing, which was something which was so much required by everybody in the past, is now gone, is now not required. People don't want their telephone numbers, people do not want their PAN numbers, Aadhaar numbers, or such other personal private information to be publicly available, unless, of course, you are using it on a personal basis in a short group. But in general, you will not like everything about you to become known to everybody else. And we have seen cases where your school name, photo name put together, there is a risk of impersonation, your sharing of routine. For example, if you have posted, say, certain photographs, videos of your prolonged stay in some vacations, maybe, and some, I'll say, unscrupulous elements get to know about your presence, that means you are not at home. There are always risks of your home being attacked, maybe some theft taking place. And this has happened in the past. And that's how, in fact, even when I talk about so-called digital arrest, people get to know, people tend to get to know as to who you are, what are your weak points, and they try to exploit. In spite of all these facts, the fact also remains that we as users on the internet, we as users on various e-commerce platforms, we as users while visiting malls tend to share our details. Maybe because it's an Indian tendency, if there is some discount, if there is some promotion, we expect, and maybe we therefore tend to share our such names. If we go to websites, all of them, for example, have cookies, and they track your behavior through these cookies. Many of times you may also come across some forms being filled up. So when you are filling up some form, maybe on any website, you are giving feedback, you are putting complaints, maybe you are participating, you want to participate in an event, naturally certain information has to be provided. In fact, when we talk of today in an ecosystem which is a mobile sort of ecosystem, wherein almost everybody who is on internet has got a smartphone in hand. The country can boast of highest number of internet, access, number of people who have got the internet access. More than 60, 70 crore people having smartphones, more than 30 lakh applications being available on Android platform, around 25 lakh applications available on iOS platforms, all of them looking for some sort of personal data, and therefore it is important to know as to what kind of cookies you are agreeing to, what kind of forms that you are filling up, and what kind of permissions that you are sharing on the apps that you use on a daily basis. Now, this is where I talk about maybe some of the real time or some of the real scenarios. For example, when you come across and you share certain data on the websites, there are two types of websites: HTTP, plain HTTP, where the data actually goes in clear text, while there are HTTPS sites, and you can see a padlock being there on such sites. And if you click on the padlock, you will also get to know as to who has issued the certificate to this particular site. Why I am talking of such HTTPS and secure websites is that when you are interacting on such websites, the data that you share is completely encrypted, and hence nobody in the middle can actually get to know about the data, and it's only the final recipient, the person who is actually managing the website, or of course you on the other side, who will be able to see what is being shared. So whenever, and particularly for the sites which are likely to be unreliable, you will find that this HTTPS is missing, or even if this HTTPS is there, please be sure that the sites are quite authentic. Many a time we tend to, particularly online gaming, we tend to download sites which have been made available to us through the WhatsApp link, through the SMS links, or maybe directly on the websites. Such links, such applications, if you download, you may already be aware that they are not from the official Play Stores. Official Play Stores, when I say, I mean to convey that they are probably not directly available on iOS or on Google Play Store or on the official stores of the corresponding manufacturers of the phone. So any app, in fact, can be downloaded through third-party APKs. That's how they are known as, and there are thousands of such APKs. Many of these APKs are not reliable. What I want to therefore convey is that when you are downloading or installing any such app from an unauthorized app store, it is possible that these apps are collecting your personal data. These apps may of course also be maybe introducing certain malware through the apps, because today I am not talking about security in general. My focus continues to be on the personal data, and in the past we have, for example, seen loan lending apps which were being made available through such third-party APKs, not through the official stores, and there have been huge number of instances wherein your personal information was downloaded, your pictures, your videos, your contact details were downloaded and have been misused by the unscrupulous elements, in fact those who were running such unauthorized apps. My context was lending apps, but it can be any other apps. So what should we do? Of course, I have partly already answered as to what can be done. Particularly be aware on the websites as to what kind of access, what kind of personal data you are trying to share. Normally on the websites, you have the choice to maybe accept or maybe provide certain kind of data. There are in fact 2-3 types of cookies: essential cookies, desirable cookies, or maybe the websites also give an option that they may like to collect anything and everything on as and when you access the websites. Same is true with respect to the apps also, but in the context of social media, I'll just like to mention that as far as possible, keep your profile private, or maybe if not private, keep it limited to your friends, and don't allow, unless of course there is nothing, unless you want to broadcast, unless you want to make everything public, then only you should allow public profile. Otherwise, keep your profile as much private as possible. Control tags. The way, for example, you want to make your message, your photographs, your posts becoming available to large number of people, and that's how you use the tags, you use mentions, there are means and ways of doing it. Once again, particularly when it is about your personal information, please be aware, please be sensitive to what kind of information is being shared, and particularly avoid sharing sensitive information. And at this point, I will also like to mention that while we talked about the PII, there are, I talked about biometric information as well, I talked about your name as well. So there are certain information which may not be too critical. But when it comes to biometrics, when it comes to your health records, your medical records, the financial data, maybe it's very, very important. It is considered sort of a sensitive information, because any such loss of information, any such information becoming publicly known attracts the criminal elements to misuse it. In fact, we have a good number of examples wherein, because of your Aadhaar, because of your fingerprints becoming available, and why they have become available, if you ask me, I'll as well respond to those questions, that there have been AEPS related frauds in the country. Always review third-party app access, and particularly on some websites, social media sites, you will have some pop-ups coming up. It's always better not to click on those pop-ups. Always enable two-factor authentication. Have as strong as possible passwords. In fact, earlier we used to say have a combination of lowercase, uppercase, special characters, but nowadays we say have as much as lengthy passwords as possible. Of course, easy to remember for you, difficult to guess for others. Never share your passwords with anyone. Always enable two-factor authentication. Don't use the same passwords, and particularly if you are using a public place, in a public maybe Wi-Fi, normally avoid in fact sharing the passwords, storing the passwords, particularly if it's a public machine. Is definitely do not store the passwords on the browsers, because sometimes browsers do give such a message that maybe the passwords can be saved if you feel like. So never ever save the passwords, particularly if it is a public machine. Use the passwords managers to manage the passwords, because at the end of the day, lots of passwords to be remembered and to be used. Be aware of what kind of permissions that you are giving. There is, for example, an application called as Torch, which is available in every mobile. And if you look at the permissions that it is likely to ask, is even your mic, even your speaker, your storage media, as well as your contacts. I do not understand as to why an app like Torch should require all such kind of details. So be aware of what is being asked by the app. Of course, there is an operating system which takes care of that. Only those things are shared which are really necessary. So it's true, for example, in WhatsApp, normally you don't really require your location details to be shared unless you want to share it specifically to somebody else, maybe in a live scenario. So the whole idea that I wanted to convey is that please be aware of what permissions that you are giving. Please be aware of the phishing sites and avoid sharing data on such. In fact, if you think that this is a phishing site, and once again, I mean, there are, say, particularly students who are looking for admissions into college, that there will be some spurious college looking sites. For people, young adults who are looking for jobs, there will be some such sites coming up. Of course, there are always good number of sites who are always trying to steal your financial data. So avoid such sites. There is also, in fact, in the digital world, whatever we may be doing, there is some amount of information which is left, and therefore, which is nothing but the digital footprint, which is nothing but your personal data. And unfortunately, in the digital world, anything which you share, anything which you do, anything which you browse, there is something which always remains on the internet, maybe whether you are aware of it or not aware of it. So the whole idea is do the safe browsing. I am just moving into as to what exactly government has done and what should government do to ensure. So first of all, privacy has been declared as a fundamental right in this country by Honorable Supreme Court. And when I say fundamental right, like any other fundamental right, for example, right of speech and expression. So I have this fundamental right of speech and expression, which empowers me to express my views, to write anything, to talk anything. Of course, not against the national security, not against the nation, not against the security of the country, not write something which can create a huge divide amongst the societies. So that means fundamental right means it's not exactly an absolute right, but it does give a lot of flexibility to you. Privacy, as I said, has also been declared as a fundamental right by Honorable Supreme Court. That means it is my right to know as to what personal information is being collected by a website, by an application, in the physical space, in the digital space. I have all the right to be informed. I have all the right to ask as to what personal information do you have. I have right to even ask for removal of this personal information from maybe any social media platform or any other online platform except from the government, because government, when they are taking your personal data, government does take huge amount of your personal data, starting from Aadhaar to I mean many activities that government has to function, starting actually from your birth till the death of the person. Lots of certificates, authorizations, licenses, maybe scholarships, schemes that government has to run. So government has a different reason to collect your personal data. But beyond that, beyond the government, there will always be an opportunity for you to be able to get to know, to be able to give a formal consent. And precisely for that reason, that India has developed comprehensive law on the privacy, on the personal data protection, particularly when it is in the digital form or it's a digitized data. And that's where the country has already enacted a law called as Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which has come into existence in 2023, Act which is going to become operational very soon. And in the absence of this law, which has not become operational as yet, we already have the Information Technology Act. Information Technology Act and the rules do provide that any organization which is particularly collecting sensitive personal data, that means, for example, hospitals, for example, Aadhaar, UIDI, for example, financial institutions. So in any case, such organizations, so even in schools, if you're maybe certain biometric data has been collected. If in an organization, for example, if your biometric data has been collected for the purposes of attendance, then such organizations are required to publish a privacy policy. They are required to inform as to what kind of personal data have they collected about you. They are required to inform as to what do they do with this data, with whom are they sharing this data. But the IT Act, because it was enacted in the year 2000 with some amendments in 2008, it really falls short of the kind of expectations that we now have in respect of the privacy. Hopefully, the new Digital Data Protection Act, which I said has already been enacted and is likely to become operational soon, will take care of all such aspects of ensuring that the right which has been given to us as the citizens of India in respect of the privacy is fully adhered to. There are penalties and every kind of, mechanism which is supposed to be there has been worked out in this act. Of course, we have certain other provisions, including in the erstwhile IPC and now Section 78 in BNS, which talks of the stalking particularly against a woman, so the context is stalking in respect of women in the physical space as well as in the cyber space. There are certain protections available under the POCSO Act as well, which primarily deals with the children. Now, let us assume that, let's say, some privacy breach has happened. Now, privacy breach can happen in the form of, for example, particularly in teenager boys and girls, it is quite possible that maybe some image of yours, whether original, morphed, has been, let's say, made viral or has become public. And if it has sexual flavors, naturally it's a grave privacy concerns. It has led to suicides in many scenarios. It has led to, people doubting completely on your integrity. So your own self-esteem comes down, and that's where you definitely do want to inform, but do want to inform in private only. And that's where the laws have been made under the IT Act. We already have a provision that in case you have any such material which you feel is grossly violating your privacy, you can always approach the concerned website either directly, through your parents, through law enforcement agencies, through police, through any lawyer. So whichever means and ways you can approach and ask for its removal within 24 hours. If that doesn't happen, of course, there are other provisions which have also been carved out. I'll not be talking about that today, but will be happy to answer if any such question comes. In a normal scenario, of course, there is always a help available in the form of 1930, which is a toll-free number, or a national cybercrime portal, which is cybercrime.gov.in, which in any case, I'm sure you must already be knowing. Otherwise, this is one portal, this is one website, and this is one number which should be known to you, and which you should be helping any other person who feels is in need for such kind of protection, or has been or has suffered any kind of cyber incident, cyber attack, cyber fraud, or some such things. Of course, if there is a breach, if your passwords have been breached, naturally, normally people tend to immediately close the switch off the mobile. Switching off the mobile or switching off the laptop does not really help. It is important that we capture the evidences. It is important that we immediately change the passwords. So these are some of the precautions. There are other means and mechanisms available, particularly through the DPDP Act, which I shall be talking as and when as I said, the questions are asked. I have already talked about the cybercrime portal, but from the CyberPeace Foundation itself, we also have one dedicated number available, which is being shown on the screen. Particularly if you come across any call which you believe is a fraudulent call, not to do with per se data privacy, but to do more with curbing cyber crime, cyber frauds, you can as well report such numbers, such telephone numbers on government portal, namely sancharsaathi.gov.in.
So we can, I'm sorry sir, I'm interrupting you, but can we have this slide on the screen where you are sharing all these details from?
You should be able to see the slide.
So actually the slide is not visible, where all the important email IDs and phone number is mentioned. So because you are sharing such an important information, we want our viewers to take a note of that. Yeah.
So are my slides not visible?
Some of them, yes, sir. So if that slide is visible, that would be really great. But yes, you can just repeat. So you can repeat the email ID, please, if it's possible for you.
So let me convey the number.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was thinking
no problem, sir.
The presentation is being seen. So the number is the toll-free number for reporting any cyber crime is 1930, and the website, the portal to report is cybercrime.gov.in. This is the portal which is operated by Ministry of Home Affairs. This is one common portal working across all states. This is one common number 1930 which is working across all states. In respect of privacy problems, as I conveyed, there can be scenarios where you should be able to report it here. There are provisions that you can report your grievances, your privacy breaches anonymously on this portal, but still people may not be too comfortable in reporting maybe on such government portal. Understood, and therefore there are few numbers which many NGOs, non-government organizations have come from the CyberPeace Foundation side. This is the number, which is 957 000 5 times 0, in fact. So 957 5 times 0 66. I also talked about portal which has been created by Department of Telecommunication to report any telephone number which you believe is a fraudulent telephone number, maybe because it is giving too much of spams, or maybe there are calls which we, as of today, for example, we receive a number of calls, at least I receive a number of calls coming from that I am speaking from TRAI, Telecom Authority, or whatever. And I know, that these are all the people who are trying to make fool of you. You can report such numbers on a website, sancharsaathi.gov.in. So if you just look at Sanchar Sarthi on Google, you should be able to see the website. You can, maybe if you have received any such message, that message can as well be shared, because along with the message, if there is any telephone number, such numbers, they then do, some sort of they do some analysis, and if they feel that this number requires further validation, they do it. If they feel that this number is a fraudulent number, such numbers are blocked as well by the government. And till now, for example, very recently government has conveyed that about 9.5 lakh such numbers, maybe some international numbers, everything is possible technically today. So in the garb of international numbers, or maybe such other fraudulent numbers, in all about 9.5 lakh SIMs have so far been blocked by government of India.
I think, sir, that is a very important step, and because we keep on getting these international calls and we are totally in a fix whether to take them or not. And sir, apart from this, I would also like to give you a polite reminder that we are left with a few more minutes. So
I'll just take 2 more minutes and close.
Sure, sir.
We'll be happy to. So in short, I'll like to just mention that as far as privacy is concerned, the less is better. Sharing less information is always better. It's always important that maybe, because privacy and security normally tend to go together. So in my lecture also, I'm not just talking about privacy or ensuring privacy. I'm also talking about a bit about security. Think before you click, think before you post, report what you feel is wrong. It's important. And particularly in the cyber world, it is equally important that we not only take care of our privacy, we are also sensitive to others' privacy as well. And this is particularly true when you post somebody else's photographs, somebody else's videos on the net. So no screenshots or forwarding without consent, ideally. So we should somehow learn the culture of respecting others' privacy as well. At this point, I would like to stop and maybe willing to take the questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for delivering this presentation on data privacy and personal information protection, and very well said and beautifully summed up. It's important to take care of one's own privacy and respect others' privacy too. And at times, sir, I've seen that when you watch something on social media platform or on WhatsApp, you get this option also, report. So if you don't feel that something is right, you can always report. It's just a click away, and you can save yourself and many others from the possible threats. Now, sir, we have received one question, like there are lots of questions, but there is one particular question that I'll be taking from one of the viewers. And the person is asking that how do companies track and collect personal data online?
Okay, you just go to an e-commerce website, try to read the privacy policy that they have.
Okay.
The very fact that you create an account, and it can be with respect to e-commerce, it can be with respect to any social media platforms. The very fact that as soon as you try to create an account, the phone number, the IMEI number, if it is a laptop, then your MAC number, your location. In any case, they are asking for your mobile number and maybe email number. Some sort of a validation is done by them, and they as well ask for your age, because there can be certain websites which are age specific. So lots of personal data is collected by them.
Okay.
When I was talking of e-commerce websites, for example, the items that you purchase, the items that you surf but do not purchase. So all those things are in a way captured by these websites. They therefore know all your history, geography, and maybe future. They can predict. So all your choices are known to them.
Yeah.
In Google Map app that I was referring to, there are, for example, monthly statistics coming to me, at least,
Okay.
based on the choices that I have given as to which places did I visit and how much. In fact, you can get to know as to where exactly on the maybe globe where exactly on which day where you were. So all those details are available and are used by such apps, social media apps, e-commerce apps, almost everybody.
So, sir, I don't think that there is any way to keep all these things at bay and to keep our privacy, because of course we are leaving our digital footprints almost everywhere. And there is one more question related to this question only, that are there any particular way to opt out of online tracking and surveillance?
Yeah, so definitely the law does provide this, I'll say, facility. I mean, once privacy has been declared as a fundamental right, there is always a possibility of such things, except when you are sharing data with government, because government is collecting for an entirely different purpose.
Right.
However, for example, Aadhaar, if you want to lock your Aadhaar, you can. So they will not delete your biometrics, but they can definitely lock your Aadhaar. In all other websites, for example, if you want to say, let's say, close your social media account and want to, let's say, completely withdraw your data, it's possible. It's possible even today that you can withdraw. Tomorrow, when the act becomes operational, the DPDP Act I was referring to, you should be able to ask for erasure of this data. And it is not just the platform who has got your data, it's all those platforms with whom this data has been shared by them. They are also obliged under the law to erase your data. Okay. So in time to come, you will see lots of changes. Of course, once again, if you put it on social media websites, on internet, for everybody to see, there are AI tools and lots of them to scrape your data and use it. So the whole idea therefore is, don't, for example, use any AI system to maybe get self-diagnosed, to give too much of personal information, or maybe get attracted by Ghibli photographs. So if it is you who is sharing your data, naturally the platforms are always so happy to take it.
Oh. Yes. And so one last question, and very quickly I would need an answer from you. How do you think individuals can protect their browsing history and online transactions? Is deleting the best option?
So if it is about browsing history, first of all, use incognito. Okay. At least it will not be on your system. But once again, as I said, there is always some digital footprint which remains.
Yeah.
ISP knows. The ISP knows, because you are taking services of ISP to be able to browse. ISPs in any case know about your browsing history.
Right, sir. And now, sir, the session has been really interesting. I have a lot of questions, but due to dearth of time, I won't be able to continue asking questions. But I would like to thank you for your time and presence. Looking forward to see you again with yet another exciting session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, pleasure is ours. Well, dear viewers, it's time for me to wrap up this training session over here. Of course, we were in day 2 where we talked about data privacy and personal information protection under the umbrella theme of cyber Swachhata and digital citizenship. With this, I'm wrapping up the session over here, and before I leave, let me give you quick informations about the textbooks and the schedule. So, textbooks for grade 4 and 7 are available now. You can purchase them from Amazon, Flipkart and NCERT website, and you can watch another session in a short while from now. Sahyog is coming your way and you can see it on your screen. We have a program schedule, and the topic of Sahyog will be effects of imposed perfectionism on the mental well-being of youth. With this as a wrap, this is me, Harpreet Kaur, taking leave of you. Namaskar.